As promised, we're talking about fun ideas for mentorship connections this week. I know you all know the group really well, so I don't have to go in too much detail, but for folks that are on the patient services team that aren't here tonight, we do have vacation right now. So Kaya, our assistant helpline coordinator, who some of you may have interacted with, is one of our wonderful members of the Canadian constituency, of course, here tonight. And then another team member that some of you may interact with is Dr. Samantha Bureau. The other members on the patient services team here with Chris, Dr. Cantu, and Dr. Reese interact with us at an advisory level and kind of at as necessary level. But just want to always show you guys how much bigger the patient services team has gotten over the past year. And we will be continuing to grow. And also, of course, we are very, very grateful for all of you that are joining us tonight and volunteering your time. A couple quick announcements. As always, we're recording. So if there's any background noise, if you guys don't mind muting yourselves, otherwise feel free to talk. Another plug for our Facebook forums. If you aren't already a member of our Facebook groups, please do look for those links in a follow-up email to join and interact with people in the PCS and CTE community. And then a very exciting new announcement that I hope some of you are able to take advantage of is that we are going to be offering brand new Zoom support groups. So in addition to the one-on-one mentoring that you all have been volunteering your time for, we're organizing groups for post-concussion caregivers, post-concussion patients, CTE caregivers or suspected CTE caregivers and suspected CTE patients. And those are going to be groups for people to come in a very unstructured way to share what's going on in their lives and hear from each other, maybe talk about a topic of the day. But we're going to be rolling those out starting in January and February. So we do have a poll that we'd love to hear your feedback on about what times will work best and what groups you all would be most interested in and subgroups. So that's going to be in a follow-up email as well. But we are very excited for that. It's been a long time coming. We know a lot of people have been asking for it, and we've just been doing our due diligence to prepare. We are ready and we're excited and hope that you all will be able to join in on some of those. So as always, we'll be in a follow-up email with the links and then our guidebook for anyone that hasn't had an opportunity to see that recently. So getting into fun ideas for mentorship connections. Zooming out in the big picture, what are we going to talk about? We thought good places to focus would be on the very beginning of your mentorship connection and connections. So right at the outset of a new relationship, or even if it's an ongoing relationship and you need some ideas for how to break the ice anytime you pick up the phone and call or get on Zoom and talk to each other face to face. So what are some icebreaker ideas? What are some virtual activities you can do together? What are some blended activities that are part virtual, part live that you could be doing together? And what to keep in mind in terms of authenticity and honesty and listening to your mentee about what they're comfortable with. So first list of ideas, things that we'll want to just create more ideas in your head, not perfect, but of course, just places that we can start off from. When you get on the phone, when you get on Zoom and have a video chat, even if it's something that would be appropriate for text or email, we know that it can be kind of awkward. Getting to know a person, talking with them. Sometimes people are really ready just to share what they're going through, and then other times people feel a little bit nervous and reserved about the new relationship. So if you find yourself in a position where you think an icebreaker might be useful, you could ask the mentee, what's one good thing that happened today or this week, trying to keep things positive. Something similar, what are you most proud of today or this week? What are you looking forward to this week or month? So again, keeping it pretty positive and teeing them up for not a unicorn and rainbows answer, but just a getting their mindset in a positive place and kind of a fun and relaxed place. You could also suggest something like a breathing exercise. This is on the more out there side, but a shared activity like doing a breathing exercise together where you breathe in for a count of 6, hold it for 5, breathe out for a count of 6, something of that sort. You can do some visualizations together, especially useful if you find that the beginning of your sessions make your mentee a little bit nervous, or you can sense that they're not the most comfortable. There are good ways to introduce this kind of activity. Like, I was thinking that we could try something new today. It's a little bit out there, but it really helps me. Would you want to do a breathing exercise together for the next 5 minutes? It helps me feel really, really calm and relaxed and excited. So that's one idea. Another could be to ask, share yourself and then ask the mentee to share their rose and thorn. This might be familiar to some of you. There's different iterations of it, but your rose is the best thing that's happened to you, or the most exciting thing that's happened to you since the last time you spoke. And your thorn is the least exciting, maybe the worst, but maybe just a meh thing that's happened that you could talk about. So you have a little bit of balance there. It invites them to talk about things that are maybe not so great, and it's balanced with the things that are going well. And then finally, the most out there, introducing something like doing stretches or sun salutations at the beginning of your meeting, very similar to the breathing exercise, but it may be a little harder to get someone up and going if you guys are on the phone together or texting or something. So of course, it's up to you to figure out what would work best. These are just a couple of ideas for icebreakers. Wendy, we have a question.
It's not a question, it's just kind of a comment about the breathing exercise. I'm maybe just wanting to point out that holding the breath for somebody who has experienced trauma can be quite triggering. It can give rise to anxiety, holding the breath, so that maybe if I'm offering it to someone, I might check with them first about whether or not they want to hold the breath, because it can be quite triggering.
That's great feedback. Thank you, Wendy. But always asking is the route to go. And if you get the sense that the person might be in a vulnerable place, it's okay to play things a little bit more conservatively and stick to asking questions. But a great piece of additional context there. Thank you, Wendy. Now, we had another question in the chat. Wendy, remind me. I'll get to that. Sorry, I missed that. The hand raise worked well. Okay, so moving past icebreakers, of course, any of your own ideas are great as well. Some virtual activities that can be done either together or asynchronously, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in a minute. If you do connect with your mentee by Zoom frequently, the share screen function, which I'm using right now, is a phenomenal way to have a shared experience together. So you can share screen and watch a video together, or share a photo of your pet, or a vacation that you just went on, or a delicious meal that you had at a restaurant or you cooked. Doesn't have to be anything too elaborate. Just sharing the screen is a way for you both to be focused on something else besides yourselves and your internal thoughts and feelings. It's a way to just spark conversation. So if anyone needs a tutorial on share screen, please reach out. We can help you guys get trained up on the Zoom technology, because it's extremely useful, and we're more than happy to set up a meeting time to make sure you guys are able to use it well. Another idea, similar but not doing it at the same time, you could do a movie night. Spelled incorrectly there, I just thought, but movie night. So you can watch the same movie at the same time, or documentary with your mentee, but doing it separately. So you might Zoom or call or text each other and do like a 3, 2, 1 countdown, where you hit the play button on the movie if it's one that you really, really like, or if it's a documentary you both want to watch. You start the video, and then you put the phone down, and you don't talk to each other for the duration of the movie. And then after it ends, You can either text about it, you can plan to just jot down a couple things and talk about it in your next session. But again, especially if you find you're working with a mentee who might not be in a great place to, talk about themselves or talk about their feelings, but you know that they want to keep connecting with you, and you just want to have a shared experience. Movie night could be a great idea. And very similarly, book club, and this one is maybe a little bit easier on the visually and auditory sensory impaired folks in the mentee pool. Listening to an audiobook at the same time, air quotes. So you guys create a two-person book club where you're going to listen to an audiobook chapter by chapter in between your connections, and then talk about something interesting from the audiobook in between. Really, it's just a way for you both to be sharing an experience when you're not talking with each other on that phone, and between those 2-week periods. YouTube has tons of books on tape. Audible is a great resource, and they're connected with Amazon. And I know there's a few other services out there that people make use of. Spotify and Apple Music also have some limited selections. So podcasts, audiobooks, just limited stories on YouTube on audio, all great options. And then final list of ideas for what can we do in the virtual world, but also how can we make this a little bit more real world and bring it into the physical plane. You could decide to do a cooking night similar to movie night. So you make the same recipe together, but you do it separately, share photos, talk about it. Again, good for somebody that maybe just needs to get their mind off things. You could go for a walk together. This one's a little bit more involved. So instead of cooking the same recipe and then talking about it later, this one, the idea is you go to your local high school track and you say, we're both going to walk laps together, and you'll be on the phone or on a video chat. And it's just a great way for you to get exercise, get out, get fresh air, get into a good mindset with the person that you're talking with, and encourage them to do the same. And then lastly, if you are feeling very confident about your connection with your mentee and you think you're ready to have a bonding experience, you could challenge them to a friendly competition, like who can keep a streak going on a habit, or who can do meditation every day or once a week, or affirmations every day, or can exercise twice a week and log. It's a great way to keep each other interested and focused and motivated on a task. So just a couple of ideas there, but really the categories that we were talking about, blending virtual with the real world and having some shared virtual activities, or just having some icebreakers. Those are all categories that you can think about in your connections that will help build some trust and some camaraderie. So even if one of these isn't an idea that works for your connection, you might think of something that seems like your mentee would be really interested in doing. Very much encourage you to suggest it. Last part I wanted to just make a note about is the best thing to do is to go what feels exciting and natural to you. These were just brain teasers and things to think about. You want to pick something that's a good fit for you, and you can, maybe guess is a good fit for them, but even if not, you're just so excited about it that you think they could get behind it and get excited about it. So do take some cues from your mentee, and as Wendy mentioned very astutely, to ask direct questions about whether or not breathing exercise would be interesting or a movie night would be exciting to them. Of course, asking direct questions is the best way. And then just the last note to remember, all of you know this, but the mentorship program is a exclusively virtual program. So the idea of going to a track at the same time and talking to each other on the phone is that you guys are at different tracks. So all of the connections would be virtual and not in person. We don't encourage, meeting up for coffee or meeting up to grab a bite to eat, at least within the structured Concussion Legacy Foundation relationship that you guys have. Of course, you are all adults and people outside of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, but just a a reminder there that there's multiple channels to get in touch with your mentees. You can be creative about them, text, email, phone, Zoom, and introduce new ideas, but please keep them to virtual.